We do have Mike White, the owner of L A Raceway, online right now. Mike, how you doing this morning?
Just wonderful.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
This is Scott. I got to ask you. We're sitting here. Does it make sense for promoters? Do you think that it would work, or is it too hard on the teams and the promoters if for some reason they could see that they have some good weather coming up? Could you make a call like on Wednesday and say, hey, we're going to race this weekend? Would that work out? I'm afraid it wouldn't.
I don't think it will.
Advantage of this warm weather early in the season.
I think it's a really good idea. I don't think there's any way, though, that you can get enough word to the spectators and things with there's so many different types of media and so many different ways to get a hold of the people and let them know what's going on that it's impossible to reach everyone, and the cost is not, you can't do it cost effectively in order to get enough people in on a spur-of-the-moment deal like that. So I don't think that would work.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your season. You thought that everything was going to get going last night till all these heavy rains came in the last several days. And the L A Raceway USMTS event now rescheduled for Thursday night, April 19th. First, we thought it was going to be tomorrow night, but the I-35 event is now on Sunday night, and your event has been moved to Thursday. So talk about the change in plans there because of the wet weather.
Well, we started out, of course, like you said, we were originally scheduled for Friday night, I-35 on Saturday night, and with the rains, I was in contact with Todd a whole lot during this week, and I mean every day. And you know, I know he was also working with Mike Johnson up at I-35 and trying to go between him and go between me and see what we could get done. And they thought they could get their race in on Saturday night, so we moved ours to Sunday night. And you know, we're just working together as much as we possibly could to get both races in, and it wound up. Even as I went to bed last night, it was raining. We've got 3 and 8,500 inches of rain right here since Monday night. So it was impossible to get our track in. I could probably get the track in. I just could not get the pits and the parking in the area, stuff like that in. So it was in everybody's best interest. If they could move I-35 to Sunday night, get that race in, which they had a little less rain than we did, and move our race to another date, which we chose April 19th, which is NASCAR weekend. We were not going to run that weekend anyway. So by putting it on Thursday night, we're getting out of the weekend where, you know, you got World of Outlaws today, you've got Kansas Speedway, you've got USMTS at Valley, and, you know, our best thing there was to maybe back off a day and get it in on Thursday night with a lot of the Speedway crowd's going to be in the area anyway, so maybe we'll pick up a few spectators that way and make it a good weekend.
I think it'll work better for you than it will for the Outlaws, to be honest with you, because I think on Friday a lot of the fans, once they're at the Speedway, they want to stay there. But as the fans work their way in towards Kansas Speedway, they can mosey on down there to L A Raceway and not have to worry about being at the big track until the next day. So I think it's going to work for you, really.
I hope it does. This is our 10th year and our 10th anniversary season, and, you know, hopefully we'll have some great things going all season. You know, we've got a lot of different things going on. We've got a lot of races on Saturday nights as well. You know, with things the way they are with Warrensburg being closed, you know, it give us a little option there to over on a Saturday night to do some special races. I think that's the best night to get your crowds, especially as far away from the city as we are. So, you know, that's another thing that we're looking at. So we're doing a lot of different things.
What have you done in the aftermath of Central Missouri Speedway closing? Have you reached out to those racers that competed there on a regular basis to try to get them to come over to your racetrack? I know many of them did anyway on Friday nights, but what have you done about some of the other racers that may not have raced at L A Raceway that competed at CMS to try to get them to run regularly at L A Raceway?
Well, I haven't contacted them individually. A lot of them have been contacting me, of course, and making sure our rules, packages, and things like that were all good to where they could come and race with us on Friday nights, and of course they are. You know, we've had a lot of people that we're racing there that basically we're one night a weekers, and and we still have that. So with the area, I'd say we'll be splitting some between us and Valley and places like that, because of the distance between each of our tracks is that way. And I'm sure we'll pick up some cars. I'm sure we'll pick up some fans. And it's one of those things we don't charge a registration fee as for the most part, except for with the A mods this year, which are going to be the USRA sanctioned this year. So we don't know what we're going to get for positive until the first night, when people show up. So that's just part of the game there, because we've never charged a registration fee, so they don't have to come and sign up early and pay their fees and all that stuff. So it's just up in the air right now as to how many, but I'm sure we'll pick up several.
Mike White is joining us. He is the owner and promoter at L A Raceway. USRA, you brought them in as a sanction. Of course, they're tied in with Todd Staley and what he's got going with the USMTS. Why bring in the USRA sanction to your program?
We looked at this now for several years, and Dan Robinson down at Lucas Oil Speedway and I talked last year, and we almost did it then, and we didn't quite get it together and get it done. But this year we talked about it early, and then Todd came out and spoke with both of us at our homes and places, and after that, then I got a hold of Dan again, and we talked a little bit. I also talked with up at Valley, and talked with him a little bit too on how we were going to do it, and it worked out to, I think, everybody's benefit by several tracks going with USRA. That way, they've got not only a points fund to run for locally on the weekly races, but they've also got a points fund for the national series. So it worked out pretty well for everybody, and to have the same track rules at 4 or 5 different tracks here, that just really helps things.
What about enforcing the rules with the USRA? Do they have a specific guidelines of how you go by as far as rules packages are concerned and enforcement of them?
Well, basically, we do the same thing on tech every night. We check cars as much as we possibly can. We're going to work with the guys there at with the USRA, and they're going to work with us on how to tech and what to tech and things like that. So I think that's a benefit to us as well as them, that we will have other people helping us out on that part of it too.
Mike, you had practice last week. I know Lauren Clem went down there and practiced with her new motor in her car, and she said that her car was flying around there pretty good. You had a good turnout, did you?
Yeah, we did. Had a real good turnout, and like you said, Lauren was there. I'll tell you what, I was watching a lot of the 360 guys trying to catch her, so does that tell you anything?
Yeah, that's saying she was getting around there pretty good. So.
She was running really well. Yeah, I did get to see a little bit of that. Also, something, you guys are with the ASCS, and have you noticed that ASCS now has a 305 set of rules? So I think that's going to be a big thing with 305 racing. Of course, especially like you guys with helping Lauren and getting these rules as a nationwide deal, just as they did with 360 racing. And I think that's going to be a real benefit to 305s being. Well,
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I know there's been some naysayers on the sprint car section of RacinBoys.com, and I'm happy to see that ASCS is getting into 305. I think some people think that the cost of 305 racing is going to go up because of that, but I think the fact is that the price of 305 racing is up in different parts of the country, but it's still been pretty good around our area. I mean, I look at Lauren's car. We paid $5,000 for that car with a motor and everything in it. She got a second-place finish out of it last year, and all we did was freshen up a new set of cylinder heads this year. So I can understand where people would be concerned about it, but I think that if you have that ASCS banner and that structure, not only does it bring credibility to 305 racing, but it brings that consistency when it comes to rule packages as well.
Well, not only that, if you look at the rules, that is a very inexpensive way to go, because they didn't open the rules up and they didn't do a lot of the things that people think that's going to be expensive, and they've kept the valve spring sizes down to keep the RPMs down, and they've done a lot of the things that really needed to be kept that way, as we have done with the 305s for 10 years now, And I think it's going to do nothing but help it. If you remember back when the 360s were the supposed to be inexpensive cars, and until ASCS come in and put the rule package together, they were scattered all over just like 305s are now. So they brought it all together. I think they're going to do the same thing with 305 racing.
Are you confident that all of the promoters of 305 racing all around the country that want to have their own set of rules are going to jump on board with what the 305 has, and finally we're going to get standardized rules all across the country? You think that's going to happen with the ASCS coming on board?
I don't think it will this year, but I think it will in the future.
And that's really...
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's the savior of 305 racing, just like it was the savior of 360 racing, because it used to be 360 racing was just like 305s. Everybody looked down on them because they were not 410s. Well, 305s are looked at the same way on being out there, not 360s, So all it is a matter of getting rules together and getting it nationwide. And I've been looking for something like this for years, and finally it's here. So I'm kind of excited about it.
You know what I like about it, Mike? I like it. If you have a common set of rules, you can take your 305 anywhere and race it. That's the problem that we have in 305. You've got Race Savers down south. You've got United Rebel Sprint Car Series up north. And you've got guys in the Midwest that have a different type of rules. So if we can have a standard set of rules across the board, across the country, that way, if a person wants to go to another track, they don't have to call up and say, what kind of cylinder heads or what kind of rules do you run, what kind of tires. I think it just standardizes everything and makes it easy for everybody.
And you put the right words out there. URSS is exactly the same as the Race Saver down south. The only difference is the aluminum head. The aluminum head that is built for the ASCS 305s is identical to the Race Saver head, which is got all the same rules and specs as URSS. The only thing URSS will have to do is put an aluminum head on it, and ASCS even allowed the 5x5 wings. So, I think it's probably the best thing that could ever happen in 305 racing.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the schedule you got coming up. You got a pretty good schedule of variety of different kind of races coming up, and you'll be racing next Saturday night, right?
Yes, we start our season Saturday night, and again, it is on a Saturday night. Our USRA B mods, our A mods, our B mods, 305 sprints, 3 stocks, and hobbies will all be in action. We'll be doing that April 7th as well on a Saturday night. Then we move to the ASCS Warriors on Saturday night again on April 14th. Then, of course, we'll have the 19th with the USMTS now that we didn't have anything on that weekend. Then on April 27th, we'll move back to Friday night racing. So, we're looking forward to that. Another USMTS race on May 4th. We've got 4 ASCS Warrior Region sprint car races, and they're all going to be on Saturday night this year. We also have a MLRA late model, which we've not done in about 6 years. So we're looking real forward to that on June 2nd, which is also on a Saturday night. So, we're really excited about this season. We're looking forward to seeing a lot of people out here. Of course, we've got, like I say, most of our specials are going to be on Saturday night. So that will
I think race fans got to be excited with MLRA this year. You looked at, now they're going back to your track down there at L A Raceway. They're going to come back to Valley Speedway. They're going up to Osborne. Lakeside's back open. They're going to have their big show this year. If I'm a huge MLRA fan, I've got to be excited about this season.
Well, I'll tell you what, I love watching late models run, and I'm a big fan of them as well as sprint cars, and you guys know how I am on sprint cars, but nonetheless, the only problem we ever had was drawing a crowd, and I think that the reason is they just weren't up to what they are today back when we ran them here. So with that, I think we're going to have the crowds. I think we're going to have the things that we need to keep MLRA around this area for quite a while again.
Yeah, that is for sure. Well, let's LARaceway.com for the entire schedule coming up. Mike, we appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you for having me on, and we hope to see everybody starting next Saturday night with our opening race, and looking forward to a great season.